the things that I've really been working on is expanding all facets of my thinking to the business, the marketing, the sales, the content, all of it, right?
I think you've done fucking great. I've been looking at your content.
I appreciate that. I feel like I have too. I'm really starting to feel proud of the stuff that I'm creating, which is...
And also, anytime you need a thing like involvement, guinea pig, anything, DM me with the tweet. And I want to be interrupted to do that, because that way I'm helping at a cadence, which is a better match for your cadence, but also I'm learning cadence. I'm starting to get that rhythm, but also I'm just helping. And I want you to do that in an intrusive and repeated and unapologetic way, because it's fucking wonderful and I love it. And it makes it easy for me, because
the cadence helps, because like the last couple of weeks I've been putting up my newsletter. I've actually hit like 3 weeks in a row at the same exact time of publishing. Like I schedule it it goes out at 8:42 a.m. on Tuesday mornings.
Oh, dude, that's so specific.
Well, it's because that's when one went out, and I said the next week I set a blank message out to go out exactly 1 week from that. And I said, I'm going to send this out even if I don't write it. And so I was like, I got to write this.
That's
and it
actually
was
a cool
way
mechanic.
shorter than I normally write, because normally I just like, oh, I feel like it. And when I feel like it, I write and write and write. And then it's like a 15-minute read, and nobody reads a fucking 15-minute read.
Are you seeing Seth Godin's blog?
Well, okay.
Everything in Seth Godin's blog is like a paragraph.
Yeah. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. So I ended up like the next week I set out like, it was like, I think like a 4-minute read, 3 to 4. Like it wasn't very long compared to what I normally write, but I just called it part 1. So the next week I put out a part 2, which again, I was kind of running up on deadline, but it got up to like a 5-minute read. But I've actually been getting very positive comments from people who have read it.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
And they're like, and actually the thing that I think is super cool is I have a potential project that's come out of that, because it inspired someone and they wanted to like work with me on like the whole like customizable search engine to kind of build out like a choose your own adventure game, to like work with this creative cooperative type of group that has like indie films and like
choose your own adventure as a kid was the shit. You remember that? Choose your own adventure?
Yes, I loved choose your own adventure. And
Me too.
That's what this feels like.
Like I spoke to a man during the week who's one of us, but hadn't worked in like 6 years and had a shit ton of health issues. And I strongly believe that there is a correlation between, when people retire, they die. When people lose that purpose, a whole lot of other stuff comes in, because we were meant to run. Oh yeah. And especially if you start later in life and you've kind of had a period of time of a particular way of being, a particular culture of being, the way we're raised by parents, raised by school,
I still have a hard time with the understanding that like people will pay me to listen to me talk.
Except me, because I'm fucking cheap.
You get it for free. Well, that's the funny part, because like literally, like if you send me a DM on Twitter and say, hey, will you talk to me for an hour about AI? I will be like, yes, let's talk about AI. But if you do it through one of the consulting platforms, I'll answer a few questions first, and then you're going to pay me an extraordinary hourly.
I like, because EdTech is met by comparison. I don't think it should be met by comparison. I saw a thread by the guy who runs Primer, which is like a new school, and he said that the sector always runs from the biggest problems, and I'd like to change that. Like, I think there's honestly some 100x, 1000x kind of levers, some improvement that can really be made. And seeing this stuff in the school, man, seeing them how hard they were loving ChatGPT, but also seeing how it very directly met their specific needs. and seeing the emotional change in the person when the process is like, this is what I needed. This person helped me get the thing I needed. This process helped me get the thing I needed. Okay, I'm interested. Shockingly, people, when you pay some level of attention to what they want, are more cooperative in that process than they might otherwise be. This is where shitty behavior comes from, and it's the only place shitty behavior comes. Well, not the only place, but it was magical. It was like TikTok discovery. It was, and not even with the 3.5, 4.0 paid client. This was just the existing free one. I'd love it if they were willing to give. Oh, schools are blocking it because schools are idiots. But
Students will cheat with it. Well, okay. If
they're idiots. They're idiots.
Yeah, they are. That's
I can we have a more nuanced perspective on that? They're morons.
Nope.
We have a more nuanced perspective on that. Good fun. And it is demoralizing because when you're in the room in the moment, and this is why I struggle with context, right? Okay, so I'm in school, and okay, that's the context that I'm used to working in, but I'm like giving it to them on my phone because I'm just like, no, this is wrong. But the risk I take in the process is real because there's always some people who can delete you. But it was worth it because to see the autistic kid at the age of 11 get a management plan, but also the kid with the sore heel get the exercises with the YouTube links attached to them. A really school resistant kid. Maybe he'll be able to play football again, but in the process, he's going to learn all about the Achilles and all about the heel. And I was able to elegantly explain context.
I have tendonitis in my Achilles right now, and it's been lingering for like 2 months. And I haven't asked ChatGPT about that yet, and I probably should.
Man, it was beautiful. We did the general explainer first, but then one of the returns was a physical regimen. And then I was able to show him the second query based off the first query, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, so, and that's the thing, right? Like, it's not a one-off, like it's not a static experience, it's a conversation. It blew my mind. So, okay, this is me as an engineer, right? I'm working with new technology that I don't know a bunch about, and I'm trying to implement it, and it's not working. And so I just asked ChatGPT, I'm like, I'm getting this error message. What is the problem? And it's like, it's most likely a version incompatibility. Like, make sure that your versions of these two different packages are in alignment, so you're using kind of the same version for both. Like, son of a bitch, like that was it. And I never would have gotten that. I probably would have fought that thing for at least 8 hours trying to, like, because that part didn't even occur to me. Like, that's not what the error said, right? Like, and that's one of the problems with like error messages is like sometimes they don't actually tell you what the root cause is. Yes. And so I have gone through and like I have dug into libraries before and like tried to understand things from the like most basic levels, which is great because then I end up learning things from the most basic levels. But also I have a boss who's going, what the fuck? Why are you not getting your work done? And it's like, because I had an error message, but I now understand the entire history of computing. And can build my own compiler, but I'm still getting the error message.
But that is elegant. I mean, for God's sake, that is elegant. That is efficient. I mean, the simple reality is that as soon as the mobile phone existed, people needed to write less. And you can be nostalgic about that, but if you are nostalgic about that, you'll end up losing. And I don't mean to be insensitive when I say in pods like this shit is amazing, because I understand that there's attendant cost to that, because and I mean, I'm not financially well off enough to not be aware of that, and I'm not meaning to denigrate what do you call it, medication, But when people at an early age in life can really talk to someone, even though that someone isn't really a someone, but they don't care because it's meeting their needs, that is a godsend for the child. That is less emotional dysregulation. That is a human being who feels like they've got somewhere to go. Because trauma, by definition, is, dealing with being beset by a thing that you feel like you don't have the resources to deal with. And now they do have the resources to deal with it. And the flow-on benefits from that. That's a human race that's not broken. That's huge. And if we can
And the way I look
design,
at it, too, like, there was the whole like, there's the oh well, people like will lose their jobs. Like, I'm gonna tell you what, the only jobs that will lose are the ones that people don't want to do.
and
If it's
and
something that people really enjoy doing, they'll find a way to make money doing it.
yeah, but
Um,
also I mean, there's no use in playing defense. You just can't, because you'll lose 100% of the time.
right.
It's got to be embrace, 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 learn, 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 learn. Where do I fit? Unfortunately, but it's unavoidable. And I hope I didn't offend anyone by saying that, because from listening to you, I just know,
It's going to unlock so much. And yes, the world is going to change. It's going to change rapidly. I feel like we'll need to have better systems in place to deal with it. But also, I think there are a lot of people working on building better systems to deal with it. I think it comes from the educational level, giving people the tools to actually explore the things they're passionate about from an early age, so that when it comes down to it, they will have the ability. Like my 8-year-old Henry right now, you know what he's doing? Like, he
well,
downloaded Unity the other day and was like figuring out how to like design 3D models. I can't help him. He's also been playing with like AI tools and keeps like, can you sign me into this one? Like, I found it, it's free. And it's like, okay. And he's like, yeah, that one sucked. And so he's like doing something else. Like, he's exploring things at a very cool level right now.
it's
Um,
why it's why I think there's a strong case for a couple of things. I think there's a strong case if we could create a two-sided marketplace, which was not only just for essentially content creators who wanted to promote their stuff to children and schools and families, because I have a huge number of homeschooling people who have less than perfect advice and instruction. And I know for a fact that a lot of parents are just kind of not making it up, but kind of putting it together on the fly. And I
they're
think
putting
there's
it
a
through
lot.
the filters that they've already set up for
Yes.
information. And that's one of the issues, right? Like, it's because we have so
Yes.
much information available. We have to have filters in place to even begin to manage. And a lot of times the easiest way is, oh, they have the right label, so I will believe what they say. Completely
Yeah.
ignoring all of the incentives that go into like, oh, well, why are they saying things like this in this way?
But also they
Um,
see it through the safe, like, because it's your children. Everyone sees school not just in terms of what they're learning, but almost as a enculturation way, civilizing kind of thing. So they want the new solution to be kind of like the old solution. So it's like, oh yes, it's a school, but it's a better school. And not so much. It doesn't really work like that. If we could put everyone everywhere in the right place. I showed the ASD kid, GPT, and then he got his little treatment plan. And then I said to the kid who was having sleep difficulties, well, because I was trying to explain the idea of context. Context. This means more to him than it does to you, because this is relevant to him in a way that it's not relevant to you. If we can put those two together and then I had a Rihanna there was a page out of a magazine. It was an ad from Rihanna. And we were like, Google Rihanna net worth 1.4 billion. What did Rihanna do to get the 1.4 billion? So we're examining an external endpoint and then tracking the decision tree that took that person to that endpoint. And then it's a remixing process. I'm going to take different parts of various people's endpoints. I'm going to isolate the elements of their decision tree which led to that endpoint. Then I'm going to remix those different decision trees into one solid decision tree. And that forms my plan. So what I want is almost like the tool to take bits of people's context. And I guess the simplest version is like in YouTube shorts or, you know, or TikToks, but also Roam and PKMs. Like if there was an AI, they call them PKMs, right? Like
Yeah.
Roam and Obsidian. If there was an AI PKM, imagine something that could do what Chat GPT does, but almost map that decision tree in a way that you could put up on your wall in a way that was an intelligent rather than fist bumping, chest thumping representation of that day-to-day intentionality. So I used to have a dream wall up on my wall, which was fine, but it tends to be YouTube motivational video kind of rah-rah stuff. Whereas when it's, this is me, bam, where am I? I'm down here. Well, at what part of my decision tree am I on? And then in a way that's authentic to the human being, you can see the different elements of that decision tree, and it's all them. The kid who had the sore heel was listening because it was about him. It was about what I could even do a second thing. He was worried he'd get in trouble because he had special orthotic shoes that had been damaged. And then we started talking about what he'd done to damage his shoes. GPT, how can we preserve the life of a pair of shoes as long as possible? What should we do and what shouldn't we do? I mean, these probably already exist and they're probably already on the way, but personal AIs, even the LLMs that aren't explicitly personal AIs, purely based on the way they respond, it's almost a personal AI-like experience just in terms of how it feels. Like Replica was like that. But did you see the NVIDIA ones? The NVIDIA one, they've got the biology one. There were 3 NVIDIA AI LLMs. One was a biology one, which is exciting and scary. But there were 2 others. And that's why I tagged you in the Tom Osmond thing, because he was talking about education and AI.
Right.
And I don't know how to insinuate myself into his business, but what I'm looking to do, and I don't know how ridiculously naive and stupid this is to kind of say, look, you understand the technology, but I got 22 years in education, parents, kids, and I'm a great, well, I think I can communicate really, really, really well. I know I need to do my next thing, but occasionally I need my next job, and I'm looking for work at the moment, not just teaching work. And the hard part is too, I love being in the class, but I hate
class.
I'm
the
distressed.
institution of the class.
Like I'm distressed at the idea of not seeing those kids, because to be honest with you, a huge part of my self-esteem, the thing that got me through yesterday was service, contribution, what I did. And I got fire, man. I got fire. Like, this is, I have done it too many times for me to doubt that. And me being me, it takes a lot for me to not doubt anything. Like, it has to be to the power of N. But I don't necessarily feel particularly confident about how to connect with creators online. As that, well, if you want to do something with education and technology right
So
here, let me give you an entree into that world.
I'm going to give you a secret.
Please.
This is the ultimate hack that people neglect. If you want to connect with really anyone, but especially the content world, you create content. Because suddenly, you know, the whole saying is like, of the, 100% of people that are online, 90% of them consume, 9% of them curate, and only 1% create. So if you
Yes.
literally create, you are in
Anything.
the 1%.
And that calculus, that mathematics, I mean, I'll take that to school. I tell kids about you. Seriously.
Well, I'm not going to say I'm a big deal, but I will say I'm being taught in Australian schools right now.